Oscar, Rebecca, how y'all doing this morning?
Good, man. How you doing?
Good. How are you? Sorry.
I wish I was that good. I'm ready to bust out some dance moves too now. I appreciate
What time is it where you are?
It is 6:45 a.m., so not too bad. I'm sure the LA people are the ones who are really struggling here. So.
They're looking like that.
Yeah. So listen, Rebecca, I'm going to start with you. I can only, so much of this movie is practical. I know the worms, they're gigantic and real on set. No, I'm just kidding. I love how they looked so fantastic. I would love to know, when you were on set, what did you think that was going to come out to? Like, what was kind of the direction you were given? And then when you saw it, how did that compare?
The worms, the landscape, all of it. It was, I remember being on set and Paul, the visual effects who won the Oscar for Blade Runner, master, he was sitting in a tent. He's such a humble, quiet, kind man, and yet he is a genius. And I had the possibility of kind of sneaking in, and he showed me one of the difficulties they were not difficulties they were having, but how difficult it was not to create the rising of the worm, but the sinking of the sand prior to the worm coming. Mm-hmm. So many aspects. It's the same like when Timothy and Gurney are running and they start sinking in the sand. Yeah. Sorry if you're laughing, but my point is, the imagery is there, but it wasn't forced upon us whilst filming. I could see the ripple effects of it, but it was all in our imagination to how it would look like.
Wow. Well, it came out fantastic. You all sold it really well. Oscar, man, listen, you're a brave soul for one sequence there in front of a lot of people, letting a lot of people see a lot of things. I got to hear, how do you prep for a day where you're going to be sitting at the head of the table with not a lot to cover yourself?
An army of fluffers.
He doesn't need himself. It's beautiful.
I just bear it all. I had a cocksock, so I was protected, and everyone else was as well.
Going, you had a what?
A sock.
We've all been there. We've all, right?
Yeah.
Really? Well, how often do you use them?
Whenever I'm in a movie like Dune. So
he's got one on right now. Look.
Yeah. Well, we're chest up here.
You're chest up.
Here's my merkin.
Wow.
Work I've ever seen. Yeah, it was, that was actually really exciting because in the book, I've always loved this idea because you've also seen him so buttoned up and in control, and suddenly he's just this vulnerable, Christ-like figure that's about to be sacrificed. And I thought it was shot so beautifully.
What were you allowed to? You could move your eyes, right?
That was move my eyes. Yeah, that was it.
The diving bear on the bottom, like
yeah.
Amazing. I like the scene when it activates and penetrates your back.
Oh, the little
and your body has to go into.
Yeah. Oscar, I do want to ask you, the next costume we're going to see you put on. I'm a big nerd here, man. Comicbook.com. Can't wait to see Moon Knight. Tell me about slipping into that costume if you can, man.
He's so ripped. I'm not kidding. He is so fit right now. We were sending messages.
I'm right fit, mate. I'm right fit.
It's like a 20-pack right here.
Nice try, but I cannot say a word. I cannot say a word. All I can say is that it's awesome. It's really awesome.
What do you call Moonlight?
Moon Knight.
Dune is this, as a story, as a franchise, it's so hugely culturally iconic. And you play this major, awesome character, Duncan Idaho. And of course, you're also in another huge, major, culturally iconic franchise as Aquaman. What's it like being part of these two significant franchises that are so beloved and so huge in culture in general?
I mean, all of it's very much an honor. I just never thought in a million years I'd be here. I didn't think Denis even knew who I was. I've celebrated every one of his films. He's someone I look up to. And so when he called and asked for me, it was just surreal. And then when you're hired with all these other actors, which I just never acted with these big of stars before, and they're just so talented. The whole experience is very, it's just, I don't know. I can't even believe I'm doing press for it. And I love it. I just love the movie. It's fantastic. I want to see the other half.
Yeah, I think we all want to see the other half, honestly.
I'm excited for the whole world to see it. It's really fantastic. The press like it. It feels good. Everyone worked really hard, and I think it's wonderful. If you turn Greg's cinematography they're just unbelievable. And then you listen to music, Hans Zimmer's like the music when you walk out is just going like the sound design is unworldly.
And and watching Dune, you're right. It's visually, it's just so beautiful, and it's just such a huge movie. But bringing it down to kind of a smaller level, I really loved your portrayal of Duncan Idaho, who is personally one of my favorite characters from the book. But especially your interactions with Timothée Chalamet's Paul. The character bond was just so beautiful and so natural. What was it like working with Timothée and creating that bond between the two characters?
Well, Timothy's really easy to get along with. I feel like he's I can't say enough good things about him. He's so talented and he's just really knows himself. So he's super funny and just loving offset. So he's really easy to get along with. He cares, and well, I think with him, the way I looked at him is like how I look at my son. You know, or a younger brother. There's a lot of things I put in there that are for my own son because he does Kali, and so it's like signaling him, and everyone loved it, and he loved it, and so there's a lot of little nods to my family, and I just I look at him, and I just go like, that's my son will be like Paul Atreides, I want to raise him up, and that's so I don't know. The bond is really easy with Timothy. He makes it easy.
That's really awesome. In the movie, we see a lot of sides to Duncan. He's funny, he's loyal, he's compassionate. He's also an absolute badass. What was your favorite thing about getting to play that character, or even just your favorite part of being part of Dune?
I mean, my favorite part in my acting career is just being in that room with all those guys when Javier Bardem walks in, Stilgar walks in, and I just get to sit and watch him just do his thing and be standing next to Timothy and Josh Brolin and Oscar and just go like, I cannot believe I'm like Lancelot right now. I cannot believe like I'm supposed to be friends with him. I'm friends with this. I'm just trying to keep the peace. And that's surreal. It's just like, that'll be on my deathbed. I'll always remember that scene.
Awesome. Well, Jason, thank you for your time today. I greatly appreciate it, and I hope you feel better soon.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
How you fellas doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, man. Thank you, Stellan. I want to start with you, man. This makeup that they put you through, I heard it was quite an ordeal, man. I'm sure you're talking in detail about this, but how did they train you for this type of makeover? Because you're no stranger to it, but this one feels a little bit different. I'd love to hear. Did you guys kind of bond over having to do that?
Did you say how do they train you for it? Did you say that? The makeup school for actors? No, you're not trained for it. But I mean, I've had a lot of prosthetics and shit in my face all over my career, so I'm pretty used to it. But this is definitely the biggest makeup I've ever had, and it took 8 hours to put on every day. It's but I actually had to physically train to be able to have the strength to carry that suit and work in it without sort of looking like I was paraplegic or something. No.
They need to be cutting double the checks for you guys who have to act in all of this makeup. So, Dave, I actually want to ask you a similar question. You keep coming to these roles that have you require a lot of time in the makeup trailer, and I know that's exhausting getting up early. How long did you spend on this one, and how did it compare to like Drax the Destroyer?
Yeah, and it was, I have to be honest with you. It wasn't that tough. If you really look at it, because I only have makeup from the neck up, and it's really not that extensive. I mean, they took off my eyebrows. Obviously, they changed the color of my skin, but a lot of it is it's me shaving. And again, it's just from the neck up. The rest of me is covered in costume. So it wasn't a super lengthy process. And obviously I've been through much worse. And I would just feel like the biggest crybaby in the world if I sat here and lied to you and said it was so hard and grueling when Stellan is in the same conversation. But it wasn't a grueling process at all. Yeah, I've been through much worse. It was actually, and I went through this with a friend of mine, Donald Moat. Who, this is my third film with him, I'm sorry. And I love him to death. So it's sitting there, being able to catch up with my old friend for an hour, it's just it was cake, man.
I love it. I love doing, and I love the trajectory you're on, man. That your career has been so fun. Army of the Dead earlier this year. Congrats on all that you've been doing recently. Stellan, I want to talk about your character, man. He's got a looming presence even when he's not on screen. How do you kind of, when you have those opportunities to establish him and make sure his presence is felt even when you're not there physically? What did you want to do with that to make sure that came through?
Well, that was the big discussion, of course, because you had to make a physical presence that was uniquely present throughout the film, and of course you had help from. You had help from Dave and his character. You had help from the set and all those things. But then we had discussions because in the beginning there was some talk about having some costumes that were sort of armor and warlike and stuff, and I was so against it. I said that's Marvel, and this is not Marvel. And both Denise and Jacqueline, the costume designers, sort of agreed on that, and we ended up with those wonderful silky nightgowns that just followed his body, and his body is not only big, it also has a great presence on screen. So that is much more efficient than having a lot of armor on him to make him dangerous.
Yeah, and speaking of Marvel, you're both Marvel veterans. Dave, I got to ask you, you might be on your last Marvel movie, Guardians 3. Drax has been bent on revenge against Ronan, then Thanos. Now for the finale, where do we find him? What's he want? What's the goal?
I don't know. It seems to be Drax's pattern that no matter what his goal is, he gets his ass kicked. Like there's no superhero has ever gotten their ass kicked so much as Drax. So yeah, but it'll be obviously it's our third film. We're gonna wrap it up, and it's been a hell of a journey with a few bumps. So I'm looking forward to this, man. My cast and obviously the director James Gunn they're like family to me. This is kind of where my journey started. And so, but I am, it's come full circle, and I'm looking forward to wrapping it up. And it's a bittersweet, but at the same time, it's just, I've been doing Guardians since 2013, and when this comes out, it'll be into 2023. So that's it's a 10-year journey. So yeah, it's just all things must end, and I'm looking forward to kind of wrapping this up with my friends and family.
Well, I'm excited for you guys, and right now I can't wait for everybody to see Dune, and hopefully more Dune in the immediate future because you guys killed it. And I could talk with you all day about it, but I got to let you go. Thanks for the time, fellas. Well, congratulations on a great reception to the movie.
Thank you.
It is my absolute pleasure to speak with you, man. And I want to start with your incredible cast that you assembled for this. Everybody did it. You brought out so much great work from everybody. I want to hear of the incredible people you got to work with. Who is the actor who surprised you the most, that you were most excited for people to see after you got to see what they did with it?
Whoa, that's a tough one, because I will say that I don't tend to compare them one together. I will say that I was like, for some specific scenes, I will say that I was quite excited about the chemistry, the artistic chemistry between Timothée Chalamet and Rebecca Ferguson. There's some moment in the movie that I wanted to reach some a zone that was not easy to do for actors, and I was quite impressed by both working together. That I will say.
Yeah, they did a brilliant job together.
And I will say also, I will add that someone that really blew me away was Zendaya too. I feel that the more I was shooting with her, the more I was more.
Yeah.
I just felt that she was so inspiring. So it's like
she's going to take over the world. I swear, she deserves it. So much of the movie is practical, and that really comes through. You made so much incredible. The sets, the costumes, the locations, and then you also have things like the worms and the body shields, which are visually added to the film. I would love to hear about the challenge of getting those visual effects down when so much of the film, it takes so much pride in how much of it is really there.
The thing is that we have to be honest here. It's like yes, it's true that we shot in real environment with on a real set, but there's tons of VFX in the movie. I mean, it's like and I had, because it would be unfair to say the CG team is I work with masters. I worked with the best, and that's why their work is invisible or so spectacular, because it looks so real. It's like I work with a master. His name is Paul Lambert, and we both of us worked very, 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 very closely together, and we share the same sensibility, and he understood exactly the nature of the project and what I was aiming for. And because at one point when you make a movie like this, your relationship with your visual effects supervisor is almost as important as the one with a cinematographer. It has to be like you have to be in total sync together. And I don't know if I answer correctly to your question, but
I think that's a good answer. I appreciate the shout out to the team. They did a great job. Dune is a project that has inspired from Star Wars to Game of Thrones and beyond and everything in between. Dune is really credited as something that has inspired those titles and paved the way for them. Did any titles that you've seen influence what you did with this version of Dune?
Definitely. First of all, it's strange to think that Star Wars it was so deeply inspired by Dune. And now I'm making a movie about Dune, and I'm deeply influenced by Star Wars. I was born with Star Wars. So it's like, it was like the pink elephant in the room when we started to design the movie. How can we find our own identity in a world where such a huge beast exists? So it's like I will say that the influence of the movie, there was like there's numerous movies that influence Dune. There's like David Lean's Lawrence of Arabia, for sure. Francis Ford Coppola, Apocalypse Now. There's like Kurosawa influenced me for several details in the movie. There's like tons of events. I'm a product. When you were a filmmaker in the 21st century, you're an accumulation of influences. But I would say the main influence was probably the graphic novels that I was reading as a kid, which are from Métal Hurlant, the people like Drouillet, Bilal, Moebius, Mézières, all those all those graphic novel artists from Europe and from France, that are Belgium. They had a tremendous impact on me, and then probably were the main influence for the movie.
Thank you so much for the time. Congratulations on Dune, brother. Hey, Sharon, how are you?
Hey, how are you? I'm good, thank you. How's life?
Life's good. I saw Dune. I'm talking to you. This is fantastic. How could it get better? You know what I mean?
I'm loving your backdrop there, man. It's cool. You got a good setup going on.
You're welcome to come hang anytime. I love showing off all my nerd stuff. You know what I mean? So
deep. Cool. Thank you for having me.
Of course. I need to talk to you about this film and this experience, because the movie itself is an experience. So wow. I want to hear, you're no stranger to big films. I'm sure you've been on massive sets and everything, but this one, they went above and beyond, and it comes through. So I want to hear you, what was the welcome to Dune moment where it all kind of like that surreal feeling, like whether it's who you're surrounded by or what you're surrounded by, or both?
For me, I've as you say, I've done a few projects, but it was only over a couple of days or a day of filming. This was a very long period of time, but I must say that the first day one, we were filming in the desert in a place called Wadi Rum in Jordan, and we'd done this whole drive to get there, gone to costume, get in another car to get there, and you turn a corner and there are sand dunes everywhere, and it's just immense. Everything is just on a vast, like proper, when you just go like, this is like being in the cinema already. So for me, seeing that alone and then getting out of the car and seeing the cast, and then one of the moments that I had my first scene with Jason Momoa, So I'm there getting ready. We've got these lovely little mini homes, basically, that we get ready in and we can stay cool in. And I'm outside just pottering around. Jason comes out of his car with his entourage, and he walks towards me. And he's walking at me from a distance, but then he gets bigger. And then he gets bigger. And I just was like, is this going to stop? Because he's tall. He's a lovely guy. He's a great guy. So I'm looking up here and going, oh, this is what they're talking about. Because all my friends are like, oh my gosh, Jason Momoa. You know, you're working with all these gorgeous human beings. But that was another moment aside from, and of course, the big moment was just being there in this vast, beautiful backdrop. But also, yes, meeting Jason Momoa for my first scene was quite extraordinary too, because he just doesn't stop growing somehow.
Aquaman leaving quite the impression. I love it. Your character is such a standout. I mean, one of my favorite parts of the film. She's a straight up hero. And I don't think anybody's going to argue that after they see it. I love that you got to play the part. I also love how I've looked at your social media channels, and you champion other people, which is clearly something you have in common with this character. So with that in mind, I'd love to hear what your reaction was to learning the character's arc. And I don't want to spoil anything, but it really was so heroic. So what did that mean to you to get to play a character like that?
I mean, look, it's nice to be the bad guy. It's nice to be the vulnerable human being, but it's also nice to have somebody who straddles so many different worlds, who also can shapeshift and be seeming to be one way to one part of the story and another to the good guys. You know, somebody who manages to inhabit all these different worlds quite confidently and stealth-like, and still really at the root of it all serve the main goal, which is to look after the planet. And so for me, that was just an exciting concept to just start to unpick. So I was all up for it, without a doubt.
I love it. Well, congratulations on a great part and a great film. And I could talk with you all day, but I got to let you go. Can't wait for the world to see Dune, and hopefully more of it in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All the best.
Congrats on this awesome reception to the film. I want to start with the scene where your two characters meet. I love that introduction, and I love how what is a customary kind of greeting to one is an insult to another. And so I would love to hear, you two have traveled the world for your work and life and all that stuff. Have you ever kind of, what is something that you encountered in your travels that was really something you learned about a culture that was maybe similar to what your characters experience in Dune?
I don't know. Well, in Morocco, I remember once having lunch and people burping quite a lot, like every 2 seconds, as a sign of
that's what they in some cultures,
sharing the goods of the food, saying that how good the food is. And I didn't feel bad. I thought it was funny, and I enjoyed it. And I joined it, of course.
There you go.
It's funny. I had a thing. This is going to sound horrible, and I shouldn't say this, but I had the same thing. It was in Casablanca, so it was in Morocco, right? But a guy he walked up, and it was a cafe, and he walked up and he lifted up his thing and he pooped in front of the cafe, and then maybe he was saying something good. I don't know. Maybe he was commenting on. I don't know. This
filled me up. That's
literally the truth, man. It's not meant to be a joke. It's the truth. But that happened to me when I was really young. And when you're young, everything's cool. It's like, yes, that just happened to me. Amazing.
Well, I love it. Well, thanks, fellas. Josh, I would love to hear, was Dune, I know this is a script that had so many people in so many different places throughout the film. Comparing it to like on the heels of a Marvel adventure, did they give you everything up front, or was it like a need to know basis?
You mean with Marvel?
With Dune, did they give you everything with this one?
Everything. There was none of that. And by the way, they did with Marvel also. You know, the only thing with Marvel is once in a while, I started to pick up on why do they keep changing it when we get to the set? Because they would release pages to make you think it was one thing, and then you would change it and do it. That was annoying. But with this, it's all out there. It's all, you know, you have a book, you have source material. It's kind of tough to hide it, even though it's not. It's a very loyal adaptation. there's some things that are changed. There's some things that are ad lib. There's some things that are created for, because it kind of has its own life. But no, this, and it's all practical. We're on sets that you're looking at. I mean, you're in the middle of these massive, massive sets. The production design was on a massive scale, whereas Marvel, it's kind of up to your imagination. Both are, equally fascinating and deserve a lot of focus, but very, very different. Very different.